Hello, welcome to the show. This is Emotional Badass, where Moxie meets mindful. I'm your host, Nikki Eisenhower, life coach and psychotherapist. And on today's episode, we're using the emotion thesaurus to discuss desperation. Wherever you listen, please hit that follow and subscribe button. It helps us grow the show. It helps the show work the funky algorithm so that more and more people get suggested emotional badass so that they can grow, they can thrive. We still get messages of people figuring out very recently that they are highly sensitive, that they are empaths, and that the show is helping people all over the world. Thank you for all of your efforts since the beginning. You, the listener, has been my main marketing team. Thank you so much for helping me live my purpose. Hello, y'all. I'm pretty excited because I have a new group coaching offering that's starting in January. It's called the Breakthrough Peace Program. It is going to be a group coaching aspect to the Peace course. And when I teach peace, what I'm really teaching is how to not feel desperate. Take that in for a minute. Let that marinate. See if that resonates. What I notice with highly sensitive people and empaths is that we don't just feel desperate in a moment like we're on the Titanic and it's sinking. We feel desperate almost constantly. A lot of people who would tell me they have social anxiety, they feel desperate if they walk into a room. They feel desperate to feel accepted. As highly sensitive people, we sometimes feel desperate as we're fighting with our sensitivity to feel normal. We feel desperate to have more energy. We feel desperate to be heard, desperate to feel understood. If we're trying to heal our nervous system, we can't keep accidentally practicing desperation in these moments that are not Titanic sinking moments. I want to use my favorite book. If you're seeing me on video, I'm holding it up for you right now. This is one of my all-time favorite books. On its face, it has nothing to do with mental health, nothing to do with healing, nothing to do with high sensitivity. This is a writer's book. It's a writer's guide. The Emotion Thesaurus, a writer's guide to character expression by Angela Ackerman and Becca Puglisi. I love this book because it breaks down emotions so that a writer can write emotion into a character. I love finding inspiration, information, wisdom in sort of sideways places, like for a writer instead of like from a therapist. So desperation. Definition: a state of hopelessness that leads to rashness. Now, what rashness means to me is haphazard decision-making, moving so quickly you haven't really fully thought out what it is you're doing, what you're deciding, what potential consequences might be. You're just kind of throwing stuff at the wall because you feel desperate. If you're on the Titanic and it's sinking, you might be making a whole lot of rash decisions, just trying to figure out whatever you can figure out from a frantic desperation. So the definition of desperation: a state of hopelessness that leads to rashness. Think about the implications of that for our lives. Physical signs of desperation: feverish, overbright eyes, a darting gaze, quick movements. I say squirrely. We feel a little squirrely, a little jumpy, right? An inability to sleep or eat. Finger twitches, compulsive and repetitive movements, a herky-jerky walk. This is the opposite of fluid and flowy and easy and peaceful. Desperation is reaching or touching in hopes of gaining help or favor, the essence of reaching out desperately. Acting in ways that push the limits of endurance. How many of us as highly sensitive people healing from childhood wounds have learned to just power through, to keep going? It is a survival mode, this desperation. Pacing, anxiously muttering to oneself because we're overthinking, we're replaying, we're trying to figure it out, we feel desperate. Grabbing fistfuls of one's hair and pulling. A pained stare. An emotion-choked voice. Fluttery hand movements. Maybe moaning. Rocking in place. Bargaining. Imagine if you're on the Titanic feeling desperate, you're trying to get into one of those lifeboats, aren't you? You'll bargain anything. Shaking, trembling, curling the arms over the head, hugging one's shoulders, the chin resting on the chest, stiff neck, strained forearms, eyes that appear wet, on the brink of tears, teeth biting down on the bottom lip, wringing one's hands, shoulders curling a bent spine, so hunched over, that can be very protective for our soft underbelly. Wringing one's hands. I think I said that already. Shaking one's head in denial. Protective posture. Dragging nails down the cheeks, rubbing one's upper arms for comfort. A shaking voice, sweating profusely. This is not the emotion we want to accidentally carry around and accidentally practice reinforcing it for our minds, our bodies, our nervous systems. The more aware we can be of this desperation, the more we can use mindfulness to shift away and out of it and into and towards peace. Here are some internal sensations of desperation. Racing heartbeat. What a thing that we have the power with our thoughts to sit in one spot perfectly still, yet our thoughts can raise our heartbeat to a flutter. Isn't that amazing? That typically I would have to physically exert myself to have my heart start to beat, that the ideas from my mind can make my heart race? That's quite a power we must learn how to wield, not let just wash over us and take over our bodies. A dry mouth, a sore throat from pleading, crying, begging. This is that desperation we feel to be heard. So many highly sensitive people, you can raise your hand even though I can't see you right now. We're a big old group of over-explainers. This is why. We can have a tightness or a pain in the chest. Yeah, our actual heart can hurt from feeling so desperate. Excessive or a manic-like energy. What a thing as a mental health practitioner to have to figure out, is this person expressing a desperation? Or is this an actual psychosis or mania? Maybe a fine line. These are mental responses to desperation. Constant planning and obsessing. Oh, this is huge, y'all. As sensitive people, can we be honest with ourselves? Do we know the difference between obsessing on the future or planning? I would make the argument that planning has a piece to it, a quality of, ooh, I could do that. That might be nice. And obsessing carries the stress. Mental response to desperation, irrational thinking, and poor judgment. That's the thing that really gets me about this desperation. Because we're desperate to make the very best decisions for our lives. We're desperate to do the very things that make us stop surviving and help us lean into thriving. If this constant desperation backfires in producing irrational thinking and poor judgment, what a freaking backfiring of the energy getting used up in this desperation emotion. Another mental response to desperation. Another mental response to desperation. A willingness to do anything. That makes sense, right? You're on that Titanic. It's sinking. There is not anything you would not do to save yourself. A willingness to do anything. But imagine that when you're not on the Titanic. When you're just in a room of your peers or a room of your colleagues or with your family during a holiday visit. Imagine if this desperation pushes you into a willingness to do anything and you're surrounded by narcissists, by manipulators, by users, by people who have low integrity and are all too happy to use and abuse you. We need to understand this in terms of taking care of ourselves. Far too often do I see teachers, spiritual advisors, mental health people advising people to watch out for those external red flags from other people, right? Makes sense. It will always be wise to do that. But we can't miss seeing our own pink and red flags. This desperation, if we understand it, and we start working with it and guiding it instead of just being taken by it, then we can guide ourselves so that we don't wind up in a state where we're willing to do anything right in the moment where we're sitting with somebody manipulative, far too willing to use us, to take from us, to squeeze out whatever they can squeeze and get out of us. We have to be willing to take care of ourselves so much better than this accidental desperation that might make us willing to do anything. If you want to get hundreds of hours of exclusive audio and video so that you can personalize your recovery, your growth process, and support my work in the show, come find us on Patreon at patreon.com/emotionalbadass. This is the place for monthly bonus episodes not available publicly. We have monthly video live stream Q&As where you can ask questions, get exclusive discounts to everything else we offer, and access to our community of emotional badasses. It's the quickest way to support the show and support your own healing journey. Patreon.com/emotionalbadass. Desperation might have us ignoring the law or society's values. I remember after Katrina, being in Austin, I'm a New Orleanian, watching the very stores that I went into on a weekly basis being broken into and raided. It was so fast. That's what really got me about seeing that. It wasn't like it was a week or two out and people were starting to get desperate. The desperation was immediate. And yep, that's what happens. You ignore the law or society's values or rules. Another mental response to desperation, casting morality and good judgment aside. When you're willing to do anything, you're not really bringing good judgment. You're bringing in anything is allowed judgment. Very hard to have healthy boundaries if we're feeling desperate. Sacrificing others or sacrificing our own goals, our own desires, our own needs, if we deem it necessary out of this desperation. We also might disregard another's feelings if we're so desperate that we can't hold space for what somebody else is going through too. Here are some cues of acute or long-term desperation. I just adore how this book breaks this down. You can really hear, if you were writing a story with characters, how you could really hone in on how a character was feeling and how they expressed those feelings. So cues of acute or long-term desperation. And I do believe most highly sensitive people, most people who would be interested in this show, probably have some long-term desperation. Crying, sobbing, wailing, screaming, beating one's fists against something to the point of injury. Kneeling, pleading, disregarding personal worth or pride. I'll do anything. That's not a prideful moment. Extreme risk-taking. I'm terrified of sharks. My number one fear, sharks. The older I get, the more that fear grows, y'all. If I had to get in the water or the ocean, I'd work on it. At this point, I work on enough. I'm just going to allow that one for now. But if I'm on the Titanic, there's no boat space for me, and I understand a boat can go down and suck you down. I'm going to jump in that water despite my greatest fear. I'm going to swim away from that boat. Extreme risk-taking. We might offer an exchange. Take me instead. I'll go, you stay. I think we can all visualize that from anything Titanic we've ever seen, from movies to documentaries. People were very much pleading. Men were trading their lives for their wives and their children's, putting them in the boat. What a moment full of humanity, driven by desperation to make unbelievable choices. Pushing past one's limits to find needed strength. Yep, if I had to get in that water, I bet I would float or swim longer than I ever thought possible. Hopefully I'd make it. It may escalate to terror, dread, anger, and determination. Isn't that interesting? Because everything else I've gone over could definitely be categorized as negative. And then we get to determination. There's a reason why our society is moved, not just by true crime like murder stuff, but by people who survive what seems impossible to survive. We are fascinated as human beings by people who enter an extreme level of desperation for their lives and then don't perish. The stories, the strength, the resiliency that comes from that level of determination, maybe a level of determination that can only come out of desperation. I don't remember the guy's name. They made a movie out of it. You remember the person that got stuck in some kind of mountain crevice and cut off their own arm and survived? That would be the epitome of desperation leading to a determination. Here's a cue of suppressed desperation. Again, I think these very much describe many highly sensitive people that are listening to this show right now. Holding oneself tight. Y'all, I held myself so tight over my developmental years and my early adulthood years that it's as if my muscles have been trained to just be tight. I have held myself tight from the vibes of desperation that didn't have anywhere else to go. Another suppressed desperation cue might be believing a lie if it offers hope. Pretty sure if somebody said, hey, a boat's coming to get y'all that are floating around the Titanic, we'd hold on to that idea as much as we'd hold on to any debris to try to stay afloat. And who knows what could be argued to actually keep us more afloat? That piece of debris in the water or the hope that that boat is coming? Again, our ideas are so freaking powerful. Think about the implications of that in terms of self-talk, in terms of day-to-day things that we allow ourselves to say to ourselves that we just think is no big deal. Maybe that's a disregard or a disrespecting of the power of our minds. Here's another: fidgeting, retreating internally to cope, shutting the world out. Many highly sensitive people, many empaths who have survived trauma do so by getting hyper independent, by needing no one else and desperately moving through life, surviving it. It's part of why some of you have made it all the way to here, because some part of you recognizes, I owe it to myself to let go of this desperation, even if you haven't thought of that word. Some part of me knows I need to love and take care of myself and teach this body, this mind, this spirit, my soul, this entire being to allow for peace, to allow for ease, to let go and refuse a defaulted desperation. Here's another: difficulty sitting still, clock watching, checking behaviors are often something we talk about as an anxiety. Certainly, I could make the argument that desperation is anxiety multiplied. We might reassure others. This hits on a little bit of codependency, right? It's also part of the healthy human condition, I think, that when we feel so desperate, we can see this after hurricanes. Part of how we deal with that desperation, part of how we discharge it is we show up for the people that are around us. This is part of why Mr. Rogers says, in any catastrophe, any disaster, look for the helpers and join the helpers. It funnels this desperate energy towards something productive instead of just eating us up alive and burning us up, out and down. We might fix one's hair and clothes to appear unaffected. You ever been really nervous before walking into a room and just you're checking, you're smoothing, you're making sure nothing's in your teeth? There's a way to do that with great calm and self-respect, just wanting to look your best and be put together and make a good impression in a grounded way. And there's a way to do the very same thing through anxiety, desperation, panic, not good enough, low self-worth, ick. We might distract ourselves a lot. I think this is a big driver, a secret driver to all things addictive. And I don't just mean the biggies, the obvious ones there, not just the alcohol, the heroin, the pills. I think a lot of highly sensitive people numb out, scrolling on the phone now, listening to things without even really listening, just having something on. This may be a way to try to override these feelings of desperation and just normalize. I'm not desperately sinking on the Titanic if I'm sitting in my living room just vegging out on TV or scrolling on my phone. Some part of me has to know that despite the desperation. Desperation may be a secret driver of much addiction, much distraction, much avoidance. How does desperation show up for you? How did you resonate as I went through those descriptors? Is this something you've known for a long time? Is this a new realization? Holy cow, have I been desperate way more than I've ever realized? It shocked me to consider this and really understand, oh my goodness. It gave me so much compassion for my body, compassion for my inner child, compassion for every screw up, every time I've tripped. Gosh, I even tripped for my high school graduation, going right up the stage for everybody to see, offering myself this understanding of, oh my goodness, my body and mind have felt so much desperation, and I didn't even know it. It answers so many questions about why I tripped, why I would run into walls, why I couldn't remember somebody's name or was thinking myself into a hole. If this resonates with you too, I want you to know that you can heal. You weren't born with this level of desperation. You learned it. Life handed it to you. It taught you. Feel this all the time. Now that you realize this, you get to reframe, you get to let go, and you get to reparent and teach yourself what actually will serve you towards thriving and let go of the desperation of a survival mode. Most of the time, even though things are not perfect, they're not necessarily ideal in our lives, we all have struggles. If we sit back, tap in our wise woman or our wise man to really look around, not the scared inner child, not the overwhelmed inner child. If we really let our wise woman or our wise man look around, take in our surroundings, most of the time, almost all of the time, we're pretty safe. We can have a sip of water if we need. We have clothes on our body. We have somewhere to sleep. We don't really need more than that to give ourselves permission to let go of desperate. What would it be like to offer yourself a message? Hey, sweet girl. Hey, sweet boy. I want you to know we are not desperate. It's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to not like something. It's okay to plan. It's okay to have a little bit of concern. I decide as the authority figure over this system, this mind, this body, this nervous system. I give permission. Because I'm in charge of me, I get to decide that we get to let go of desperation. I really don't want this mind or body feeling desperation unless desperation really fits. And most days, I can admit that despite what my body might be feeling and my mind might be grasping for an old pattern of desperation, I can look around and affirm nothing about my life right now is on the Titanic. If you're interested in the Breakthrough Peace program, come sign up now on the wait list. It'll be open very soon. Light and love. May we all let go of desperation, and may we invite and sort of wine and dine peace. You are just as deserving of peace today as the sweet baby you were the day you were born. Light and love. I'll see you right here next time for a brand new episode. Bye-bye.